Well, hey everyone. Hello, good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. Happy to be back here live. Oh my goodness. It seems like so much time passes between episodes. I can hardly believe it. I can hardly stand it. But if you'll notice, I'm in my summer garb today. Beautiful temperatures here in the great Canadian Northwest. 80 degrees, 90 degrees. It's warmer here right now than it is in California. Oh my goodness. So just saying, no disrespect to my California friends, but come on up north. It's warmer. All right. So today on the show, we're going to talk about communication. This is such a huge, I don't like the word issue. Um, I don't even like the word problem. I don't like the word challenge. How about situation? This is such a huge situation for us in any and all of our relationships. So, whether that's a spousal relationship, a family, sibling relationship, parents, friends, kids, it's just huge. And so it keeps coming up for me as I'm speaking with my clients and we get talking. And at the end of the day, I'm usually coming up with the conclusion that it's communication. So I thought today I'd spend a little time on that because I know that would be of benefit to some people. And we would just ask the only thing we ask is that you share the show. There might be somebody on here listening or who would tune in that this could change the direction of their marriage, could change the direction of how they relate with their children. So just be generous and share the show. It doesn't really cost anything, it's just a click. And if you click like, that doesn't take any more energy than clicking share. And clicking share doesn't take any more energy than clicking like. And if you put comments up, that's even better. So if we have some live listeners today, we'll invite you to participate, put up comments, ask questions, etc. Okay, I've got some tickers running on the bottom today because we've got some events coming up. We have some shows coming up that I want you to know about. And the first one is tomorrow. My co host, Virginia Clark, and I are going to be talking about 10 ways to get out of a funk. Well, what's a funk? A funk is when you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're in a situation, you have no idea how you're going to get out of it, and you might need some support. So please join us tomorrow because we're going to talk about 10 ways to get out of a funk. How cool is that? I think that's very cool. All right. And my next announcement is on May 15th, before we get started with our show today. Virginia and I are hosting a complimentary workshop on May 15th at 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. And we're going to talk about evaluating your worthiness for success. And that's not just about success in business, that's about how about being successful in your relationship or as a successful parent or as a successful employee. It covers all those. So that's May 15th. We're hosting a complimentary event, Zooming it in. If you want the link, I'll give you the contact for that. And join Virginia and I on May 15th. Very cool. And you can always message me or text me or whatever, but I'll make sure I put the registration information up before the show's over today. So those are some things that are going on. And the other thing is, do you have a story to tell? Do you have something that you need to share? If you do, we're open to receiving that because we're willing to talk about anything. We will talk about anything. So if you have a story to share, just either message me, PM me, or you can call or text me at the following number, 780-566-2340. call or text, and we'll talk to you and call you about having you on the show. And my final announcement, this is something that was recommended to me, and I loved the recommendation because this person said, you're giving back so much and this costs you money. So how about, you see how this ticker is running on the bottom here? Well, if you want to have your business, your product, your services running like this ticker is running right now, throughout the Laurie Davis show, you can spend or invest $25 in your business and have that running all through the show. If you want more than one, well, you just multiply that. And of course, anyone who advertises, I will personally endorse as well. So here's another way to help get your business out there. And those are the kinds of things we're doing right now. So those are my announcements for the show today. And I'll always start my shows with those announcements and keep running them throughout the show, which is all good. Okay. So today, 10 ways to become a more effective communicator. Well, number one, we must establish a safe environment. What does that mean? Well, it's like someone who works behind the scenes with a play or a production. You know how they set things up? Well, we need to do that too. If we want to have a serious conversation with our husband or with anybody, we need to establish the safe environment. So yesterday I got a call from someone who wanted to know more about what we do. And I said to her, why don't we meet on a Zoom call? Then we get to meet each other, we get to see each other, we get to share stuff. Because that was creating safety, right? When I wish to have a serious conversation with anybody, including my husband, I turn off the phones, I turn off the television, and in the quiet, we get to share with each other how we're really feeling about things. And in my business, I do exactly the same thing. The environment is critical to us hearing and being heard. So here's an example. When I was teaching school, I would be on the playground and some mom or dad would let their kid off. And while the kid is running to the playground, so excited to be with his friends, dad or mom's yelling from the van, don't give your lunch to anybody else. Don't eat anybody else's food. Well, that's not exactly the right kind of environment to communicate, because that little boy or girl, they were running to the playground. They weren't listening to anybody. And why would we listen to a voice off in the darkness? How many times have you been communicating with your partner and they're walking out the front door and you're talking? That doesn't work. You see what I'm saying? We must set up the right environment. And we really promote family meetings with parents and kids so that at least once a week, parents and children get together to talk about, so how is your week going? How do you feel right now? Do you have any questions? We have to set it up. It doesn't just happen by magic. And when I'm working with my couples, I have a beautiful, powerful process for couples. I teach them about, I don't teach them, I just show them how to have a talking communication station. I call it, I trademarked it, communication station, where you have two chairs facing each other, no cushions, no coffee, no barriers. And that's how you get to communicate. So when was the last time you actually took the time to set up the environment? And my husband knows, Ron knows, if I say, honey, I need to talk to you this afternoon at 4 o'clock, he'll go, uh-oh. And I'll say, no, it's nothing bad. It's just something I want to share with you. And so there's no TV, there's no music, there's no anything. Phones are turned off the internet. And I just say to him, hey, I just want to share this with you. Guess what happened today? Guess what happened this morning? We do that every day. So, what is it right now that you need to communicate, and to whom? And how are you going to set that up? Isn't that cool? But most people don't realize that in order for people to communicate with us, they need to feel safe. They need to know that it's okay. So, number one. Number two, clarification. Oh boy. We have the right to ask questions and to get clarification when we're being told or given information. When someone uses a word that I do not know, I just stop right there and I'll say, what does that mean, propensity? Because some people think when they use big words, it makes them look intelligent. And if I don't know what it means, what's the point of using that language? So I never hesitate to ask, oh, just excuse me for a moment. What does that mean, propensity? Because the benefit of asking, I learn a new word, they get to clarify, and I get to give a great answer. I get to clearly understand what it is that is being talked about. But I have overcome former fears of judgment and ridicule that came from asking that, because when I did, I felt like I was stupid. Oh, I'm not going to ask, what does that mean, propensity? Because that'll make me look stupid. And I wouldn't ask. And then I'd be in these conversations where I was only getting half the gist of it, if you will, right? So clarification guarantees that I care enough about the other person, wanting them to know that they're being heard. I really want to hear you, but I don't get that. So it's okay to ask questions for clarification. So do you ask for clarification when you don't completely understand what's being said to you? Whether that's by my partner, a lawyer, a doctor, which I had this experience this 1 year ago today. I was having an ultrasound because there was a suspicion that I had cancer, and it was correct. But when I went to that ultrasound, I took a notebook. I talked with the radiologist. I said, I want to know exactly what's happening to me. And she was more than happy to answer the questions. It's okay to ask for clarification. It doesn't matter who the person on the other side is. Maybe it's your banker and you're going, excuse me? I just took $50 just came out of my account and I don't know what it's for. Can you explain that to me? We have a right to ask questions. So don't be afraid of that. It's not about you looking dumb or stupid or you don't know what you're doing. It's about you being able to make the right decisions, the smart decisions, whether that's about your health, your finances, your career, whatever it takes. All right. I'm going to run some tickers now because you too can have a ticker on the show. $25, you can have a ticker running like this all through the show. How about that? What a deal. Number 3, validation. It is important to recognize that each person we meet has something of value to share. All that we can share comes from our own frames of reference and personal experience. Even if it's not what we want to hear, sometimes people's family, friends say things to me I don't want to hear. However, I have to recognize that's where they are coming from. It has nothing to do with me, really. Okay? And since all of us have diverse levels of experience to draw from, the meaning and perceptions we place on the communication or what is being said can sometimes be mind-boggling. I could make a statement right now that I think abortion is a wonderful thing. Well, that may not be my personal opinion, but I'm just using this as an example. I could say that and put that out there, and I'm going to get 1,000 different responses. So we need to pay attention to what we're saying, given the fact that a lot of different people are going to get a lot of different reactions, give us a lot of different reactions. So that comes around saying what you mean and meaning what you say. Validation means that I value what is being said, even if I don't totally understand it or agree with it. So sometimes I'll say, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm not sure if that's what I see, but I appreciate that you're seeing it that way. So do you value what other people are sharing with you? Give an example of when you validated someone who was communicating with you. So validation comes with things like, I hear you. I understand what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from. I don't necessarily agree with it, but at least we're connected. So validation is very important. So a lot of times we generally parent the way we were parented. So, we heard things like children are to be seen and not heard, and your opinion doesn't matter. You're just a kid. We've had a lot of programming and conditioning around what is valid. And so for many of us, we lost our voice because we didn't feel validated in our feedback. If we had an opinion about something that was going on in the family and it didn't get validated, then that broke down the communication. In other words, what I'm saying is we don't have to agree to, at the same time, validate the other person. We can do that and still disagree. It's okay. All right. Number 4, feedback. In order to find out if I have been not only heard but understood, I generally ask for feedback. In other words, I'd say, so Mary, what do you think about that I just shared about the business? Or what do you think about what I just told you about my relationship? Or how are you reacting to what I just shared about my health? Or I need to have you as a sounding board and would love some feedback. You see, somebody's opinion of me really doesn't have a whole lot of value, but their feedback does, because they're coming from their experiences. So all of the above questions will assist others in giving you the necessary feedback you need to know. So there was a very famous mayor of New York, Ed Koch, and he had been reelected numerous of times. And he would go around the back streets of New York City and ask people, how am I doing? What he was really doing was asking for feedback. And sometimes I will even get my business associates in particular to share feedback with me. How are we doing? How's the business doing? Are you comfortable? Are you happy? And asking for feedback also validates the other person because they feel valued, that you would honor their feedback. Make sense? So, right now in your life, where could you use some feedback? And whom are you going to ask to give you the feedback? And in what situations do you need to make sure you give feedback, even if you're not asked? to enhance understanding. So sometimes when I see things not working right or not working efficiently, I might say, excuse me, I say that too. May I offer up some feedback? Mm-hmm. I would love to make a couple of suggestions to make our group more powerful. Are you open to feedback? You see, once again, it's okay to ask. And what I like to do is get permission. So if I want to offer up some feedback, the first thing I do is ask permission. May I get your permission? Depending on the situation, sometimes I might not ask for feedback. I just might give it because it's necessary at the time. But generally speaking, even to Ron, my husband, I'll say, honey, I've got some feedback for you. I've got a suggestion I want to make. Are you open to hearing that? Because maybe it's as simple as perhaps you should take that. He take only one medication he takes for his diabetes. Maybe it would be better if we tried it at supper time rather than just before you go to bed. See, there's a way to make suggestions. First, by getting permission. That's the most powerful. But sometimes the situation is pretty close to my heart, so I don't even ask for permission. I just give it. I'm going to make a suggestion. I'm not asking, I'm just going to. So depending on the situation. All right, so you see these tickers I'm running right now? Would you like to have your products, programs, and services running by on the bottom of our show while people are tuned in? The reason I'm asking that is because once you have a ticker on here, this is called a ticker tape on the bottom. Once you have that on there, it gets archived with the show, which goes into the archives of E360 TV. And even if we don't have any live listeners today, the show is being recorded and goes into E360. And a lot of my viewers, they know they can go in and listen to the show at their leisure. So on the weekend, they might go in and listen to 4 or 5 shows of interest to them. And how about if your business ticker was running on the bottom of all of those shows? Would that support you? Would that benefit you? And so I've decided to open that up to my business friends. And for a very meager fee of $25, you can have this ticker running, promoting your show, your products, your programs, your services. And we have no idea where that's going to go because it goes out there and it's continuous advertising. Somebody might see it a week from now, 3 months from now, and you get a phone call. So I'll be approaching some of my business friends around that. On May 15th, we are hosting an event. My co-host, Virginia Clark, and we're doing a workshop, and it's complimentary, and it's open to anybody, and it's called Evaluating My Worthiness for Success. I will speak about this for a moment because I know for a fact, based on my own experience, I was not afraid of failure. I was used to failure because I've failed lots, and I know what that smells like, what it tastes like. So I wasn't afraid of failure, but the thing I was afraid of was success. So every time I would get really, really close to the success, I dropped the ball. Because guess what? I didn't believe or know that I was worth it. So we're going to do a workshop about that on May 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Mountain time, and we're going to have a discussion. And everybody's welcome, and it's complimentary. So let us know if you want more information about that. You can PM me, and I'll put the email up here where you can actually register if that's something you're interested in. So it's assistant dot the Laurie Davis Show at gmail.com. And if this is something that you want to attend, all you have to do is email this address and Virginia will take care of you. So there we go. And also, do you have a story to tell? Do you have a story that needs to get out there? I have a major story that needs to get out there, which I'll be talking about in a few shows down the road. But if you have a story to tell, please contact me to share your story. And how do you get a hold of me? Well, you can either email me at the Laurie Davis Show, you can text me or call me at this particular number. So I'm giving you a good example today of how you can be featured on our show. And that's pretty cool. Tomorrow, Virginia is joining me, and we're going to do a show called 10 Ways to Get Out of a Funk. Are you stuck? That's another word for stuck. Are you stuck? You don't feel like you're moving forward? You're feeling frustrated? Stay tuned. We're going to do a show about that. So there you have it. All right, well, let's get back to our 10 ways to become an effective communicator. And number 5 is to become a really, really good listener. You see, most people want to talk, and even not most people, many people want to talk. So if you're a talkaholic, you can't stop talking, blah, 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 like I'm doing right now, blah, 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 blah. Well, that has to do, actually, it's pretty connected to unresolved trauma and losses and never feeling heard. And the saddest thing for many of our children is that they never felt heard. So listening, I can be passively listening and just waiting for this person to stop talking so I can jump in with my 2 cents worth. Or I want to have a comeback. So when I'm thinking about what it is that I want to say, I'm not really listening to that other person. Some people listen, but they don't hear. Does that make sense? They look like they're listening, but they don't hear what we're saying. Active hearing requires that I focus and pay attention, not just to the words, but to the feelings behind the words that person is sharing. So a way to do that, of course, is to maintain eye contact, to nod, I hear you, I understand, is that right? So that the person that you're speaking with knows you're hearing them. How many of us have been in a situation where we were communicating something and the other person comes up with, oh, something totally different? Well, that's called manipulation. Maybe I'm talking about, oh my gosh, I've got to go through this divorce. I don't know how I'm going to get there. And they go, do you realize how warm it is outside? How many times have we been in conversations where the subject got changed? That's one indicative of 2 things. 1, that person doesn't want to go there. And 2, they're not really listening to you. Or you're telling somebody about, oh, I'll share a personal one. I had a brush with cancer last year. Because they might say, how have you been doing, Laurie? And I'll say, well, you know what? This time last year, I had a brush with cancer. And they come back with, I'm really struggling in my business. Well, that's not really listening. That's not really hearing me. So we need to be mindful of how we're letting people know that we're listening to them. Are you a passive listener? So when you do find yourself being passive, it's that you don't really want to be engaged. It's clearly poor communication, and it happens a lot within the couple environment. I've worked with tons of couples over the years, and guess what? 95%, I would say, of all relationships could be cured with effective communication. The other 5% is where there's abuse involved, and you've got women or men being abused physically, emotionally. But if you've got 2 people who actually love each other and they trust each other, but they're having problems, that can be solved with communication techniques. So when we got married, we might have gone to the priest for marriage preparation. Whoa, whoa. Well, what do they know about that? Or maybe if there was problems within the relationship along the way, we went to counseling. Well, it better be somebody who's married and has a partner and knows what marriage is all about. You see what I'm saying? So communication is key in any relationship. I have a girlfriend. We've been friends for 14 years now. It's not always been easy, but whenever we have a situation, we can come to the table and resolve it and get over it and move on and still be better friends. But a lot of times people don't want to come to the table, so that's hard to deal with. Okay? That's poor communication on their part. All right, number 7, words. Choose your words carefully. It's not always what we say, but how we say it. What kinds of words do you use? Some people pride themselves in the use of extensive vocabulary. And I mentioned this earlier in the show. So somebody's using big words. That's their insecurity, that they don't feel smart enough. They don't feel good enough. And so they try to confuse us with the big words. Woo. The opposite of this is also true. Poor grammar, bad language, cussing and swearing, a limited vocabulary also sets up the same barriers. Isn't that interesting? I believe somewhere in the middle serves us. I recently had an attendee at one of my workshops share the following, and it impacted me greatly. I'm going to read this. This is a keeper. We only get out of life that which we are able to negotiate. Whew. I immediately started brushing up on my communication skills. That hit me like a ton of bricks. So this week, listen to the words you use and get rid of the ones you don't like. Whew. And what can we do to change the delivery of our message so that more and more people connect to what it is we're trying to say? Whether that's our spouse, our kids, our business colleagues, people we want to do business with. Words. And it's kind of like the teenage boy. I use this a lot in my workshops, who comes home and says, Mom says, so how was your day? And he goes, fine. That's the feeling. If he answered that way, would we just pretend he didn't say it that way and say he's a teenager and he's just going through a stage and ignore it? He's angry. So that's what I meant by listening to the feelings behind the words. Fine. What about if he comes home and you say, well, honey, how did you do today? And he says, fine. Well, I'd be picking up on that one because it's not fine. Or the third day, he might come home and you say, so, honey, how was your day today? And he goes, Mom, it was just fine. So one word, 3 feelings: anger, possible depression, and excitement. So don't listen to the words, listen to the feelings behind the words. And you'll be right every time, because then it's not your head working, it's your heart working. What am I experiencing with this boy right now? Number 8. And this has been hard. This has been really hard because people hurt us. And when we're hurt, we want to say hurtful things. And I've done that. And I have forgiven myself for that, but it doesn't change the fact that it happened. So now I strive to leave each person I communicate with feeling better than when they leave me. Hasn't always been happening, hasn't always happened, but I work really hard at that right now. Even if the dialogue is confrontational or of a negative nature, using positive words, staying calm, not attacking, are all ways to empower not only myself, but the other person. And I've lashed out at people and then get up the next morning feeling like crap because I did that. I bought in. So the empowerment is created by using all the techniques that we've talked about so far. Once you set up the environment, you validate the communication, you really listen, asking good questions. This all leads to the communication staying open. Because the minute somebody cuts you off, there's no ability to resolve anything. I have people in my family who don't want to come to the table. And if we came to the table, maybe we could fix things. But if somebody's not willing to come to the table, how can you fix that? You can't. Empower means to give or maintain the power with each individual we meet. So in other words, helping them to rise up, helping them to feel better. Disempower means to take the power away. I have been guilty of that. And a lot of people have been guilty of that as it relates to me. But this is easily achieved when we hear negative words are judged and ridiculed. This approach is a no-win situation for everybody. Always attempt to empower. You're right. I was that. I said that. I'm sorry. I forgive myself. Hopefully you can forgive me. But that's theirs if they cannot. Make a list of negative words I need to eliminate right now from my vocabulary. Well, that would include all swear words. It would include words like you can't, you're not, you won't. And then make a list of positive words that I can use to empower people. You're right, absolutely. That's a go. You're amazing. You see what I'm saying? Absolutely. Change our vocabulary. We can change our life. I know that. I used to do a workshop on that. Change your language, change your life. All right, number 9, body language. We not only use words to communicate, the way we use our bodies to express ourselves is the most powerful tool we have. 58% of the how people respond to us in a positive or negative manner is based on messages they receive from our body language, our body, how we look, our physical appearance. I could be on the air right now talking to you like this. Well, the best way to learn how to communicate is to read this book. And I'm going to highly recommend that you participate in some of our workshops because they will really help you. Seriously? Would you respond to that in a positive way? No. So shrugged shoulders, a frown, a crease in my forehead, arms crossed, eyes on the ground. Whew. This all sends out a message that I'm not approachable, that you cannot talk to me because I am probably not going to listen. Smiling, making eye contact, having a briskness to your step, a spring in your step, a positive energy that comes off you, vibes. Have you ever walked into a room and you saw this person and you went, oh my gosh, they have such great vibes? Well, that's actually true. They're giving off a vibration. Our bodies. Do you know our bodies have enough electricity in them to light up a small town for about a week? That's our vibration. That's our energy. And people like being around people who have that. That means I'm approachable. You can talk to me. I don't know what it is. And I said to Ron one time, this is a cute story. It's a little rabbit trail, but back in the day, we were living in Seattle, Washington, and we were on a shoestring. We were doing research and development. We didn't really have an income. And so for entertainment on a Sunday afternoon, we go to an RV lot and go in and out of all the RV. This was our entertainment. It didn't cost anything, but we were dreaming about down the road and dreaming of a bright future. And so we'd go to the RV lots. And this one day we went and we were in every RV that was on that lot. Finally, we get to this last one. We told the guy we were just browsing. So we get to the most expensive RV, and it was like amazing. It was beautiful. And we're sitting inside of it. And the salesperson came in and sat down. And he was really down. He was in a dark place, you could tell. And we said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Well, no, not really." He said, "I'm going through a bad divorce, and my girls don't want to have anything to do with me. And we're really, I'm really struggling. And I don't know why I'm telling you guys this." And I said, "It's okay. We've been there. We've been there, done that. We're good. You can tell us anything. It's going to only stay here." So he continued. And then as we were leaving the RV lot, I said to Ron, "What is it with us? Have we got this thing tattooed on our forehead? Tell me your life story because I will listen." And that happens to me all the time. I can be in a drugstore, pharmacy, buying a birthday card for somebody, and there'll be a guy or a gal on the other side looking through the cards, crying. And sometimes I cry when I pick out cards because the verses hit my heart. And I'll just turn to them and say, "Are you okay?" And so many times people have said, "Well, actually, no, I'm not." Because you see, they felt safe. So staying open requires work. The minute you start judging and you start forming opinions and you make assumptions, and hey, I've done all of it, then people can open up. However, being shut down will cause you to mess up or miss out, on opportunities and relationships that you could have had. Oh boy. I'm really happy that, I've been around for quite a while now. I'll be 74 in July, so I've learned some things the hard way. And isn't it amazing how we have to learn the hard way of what's real and what's not real? Being positive and open in our body language attracts other like-minded people to us. And this brings opportunities that are mindless, boundless, and endless. And I am living proof of that. That has been my personal experience. So, what's your body language look like? Are you all shut down and you're hunched over and you're looking on the ground and you can't look people in the eye, and you struggle with putting yourself out there? That's negative. And that gives off a message to others that you're not a safe person for them to talk to. So you just missed out. Think about a time that caused you to give off negative messages with your body. Oh, I've done it. And I know that a roll of the eyes like this, when people do this, I think that's actually in my DNA. And I had to work really hard at that. Rolling of the eyes, looking at the ceiling when people are talking to you, looking at your watch, giving them the impression that they're not valuable enough for you to talk with, are all indicators. All indicators. Body language. Really powerful. Number 10, the last one, the quality of your voice. The tone and quality of our voice has a direct effect on whether people hear us or not, whether they want to talk to us or not. And some of us talk too loud, some of us talk too softly, we mumble, we yell, we have a squeaky voice. This all interferes with our ability for people to communicate with us. And I just recently learned this thing about being a talkaholic. I never connected with that until I heard a speaker not too long ago bring it up in his presentation. I didn't know it was a directly linked, shall I say, to trauma. So have you had people in your life you get together and all they do is and you don't get a word in? That's called a talkaholic. I just learned that. And I know people like that. And this all interferes with our ability to communicate. Special speech challenges such as stammering, lisps, cleft palates, baby talk are conditions that can be addressed by professionals. You know, my dad had throat cancer at 67 and he had his voice box completely removed. And he had one of those machines that you use to talk with. But he took it upon himself to go to speech therapy, and in a quiet environment with the family, he didn't need to use that. Professionals can help us. If singers who want to be professional and excel, they can take voice lessons. So why not us? We can take voice lessons. So let me give you an example of some ways that I hear people speak. And I have a perfect story about that. I had a group of young men come to a retreat. And when I start my retreats, I do a big circle. And they were talking like this. Hi, I'm Billy. I'm from Smithville. Hi, I'm Donnie. I live in wherever. And we went around the whole circle, and that's how they were communicating. And I said, how could a group of handsome young men, they laughed about this, how could such a group of handsome young men expect to get a beautiful girl talking like that? No voice. No voice. Because for many of us, we lost our voice during our childhood. Because I grew up in the era where children were to be seen and not heard. That was a saying. You could be there, but nobody was going to listen to you. So as a broadcaster, I am often complimented on the quality of my voice. And that has come with years of practice. It didn't happen overnight. It was years and years of being on the air and willing to learn, using my voice to make a point, being funny and animated, dramatic, have all played a part in me developing voice quality, because 57% of whether people respond to you will be based on your physical appearance, and 37% will be responding to your tone of voice. So if I was talking to you right now like this, well, today we're going to talk about communication. And I've learned over the years there are special ways to communicate. Well, that's how I used to talk, believe it or not, because I was a kindergarten teacher. And I would say to my husband, honey, what would you like to have for dinner tonight? How long would you listen to me talking like that? Or I could be speaking like this. Now, today we're here on the show and we're going to be talking about the 10 ways to be an effective communicator. And I am here to share that with you. I used to talk like that too. You see? And I thought my opinion was the only one that mattered. I was not a good listener. I didn't listen. So what I suggest is you get a tape recorder and record yourself. Just spend 3 or 4 minutes talking about something that you did yesterday. Well, today I went for a walk and I took my dog out and we met a neighbor, and it doesn't matter what it is. And then play it back to yourself and ask yourself the question, would you listen to this person? Would you share your secrets with this person? Is this someone you want to communicate with? It's a really powerful exercise, and we use it a lot when we're working with our facilitators and showing them how to be more effective online as they're delivering workshops, etc. All right, so the 10 ways to be a more effective communicator. Oh my gosh, please share. The one thing we ask is that you share the broadcast, because there may have been something on here today that I said that could change something for someone else. I really enjoy delivering what I do know to my viewers, that is for sure. And just like to do a few promos. If you would like to have a banner on my show running like this throughout the whole show, please let me know. Here's how you can reach me. You can email me at the Laurie Davis Show at gmail.com. You can message me on Facebook. You can text me 780-566-2340, because we're going to sell ticker tapes for $25. So if you would like to have your product, program, and service running while we're on the air, and remember, it's not just for the live show, it goes into archives in E360 TV, where your ad will run continuously, because the show is archived in there and people go in after the fact and listen to the show. So that's the first thing. May 15th, my colleague Virginia Clark and I, we're going to do an event called Evaluating My Worthiness for Success. It's a complimentary workshop. If you would like to attend, please contact this email, assistant.thelaurie-davis-show@gmail.com. You need to pre-register by May 12th, because we will be having to send you a link to get in. And then on Wednesday, May 3rd, which is tomorrow, Virginia will be joining me, and we're going to share 10 ways to get out of a funk. Are you stuck? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you not sure how to get out of a situation? Listen up tomorrow, because that's what we're going to be talking about. I'm Laurie Davis. You've been listening to the Dr. Laurie Davis Show here on E360 TV, streaming live right now on Self-Worth, the Missing Link Superstars, and also YouTube, Laurie Davis Show Host. So you can catch the show in a variety of places, and please feel free to go into our Facebook page and you can share the show with Messenger. So I'll be back tomorrow, Virginia and I, so talk to you soon. And 10 ways to be a more effective communicator. Hope you got a tip or two, because that can save a marriage. Trust me. Bye for now.